All right, welcome back, everybody. For those who saw the quick stream just before, I had my camera set to the wrong settings. It's always the way. Anyway, we're back. Thanks for all the support this week on YouTube. Interestingly enough, my most popular video this week was a reaction to Steven Seagal playing blues. I thought it'd be a bit of fun. I don't know, what he does outside of music these days, but yeah, it's interesting to see a video like that sort of, I did it just for fun anyway, so I might do another one coming up. It's not going to be a full-blown reaction channel. I don't want to do that. I like to mix things up as I always do. So anyway, I hope it was a bit of fun, but thanks for all the support. It's funny to see that video kind of take off a bit for my humble statistics these days on YouTube. Anyway, welcome everybody. All right, let me just sort out the chat here. We've got John from Texas. Welcome, man. Thanks for joining in. You were first in, along with John. How you doing, man? I was about to say there was no chat window on the live stream. Yeah, every time I live stream, to make it look good, I have to set my camera to the American format because of the frame rate difference. So I realized as soon as I got started, I looked at it, I went, I'm on 25 frames per second. It looks terrible. We got Leah Jet. Welcome, mate. Hope you're doing well. Let us know if the audio is okay, if there's any problems with the sound distorting or anything. I can't handle that. So as a listener on other streams, if it's clipping or doing anything weird, just let us know. I thought I'd mix things up in terms of the live stream time. Last time, we did it at, I think, the evening in Australia. So I thought we'd do midday, which should be evening overseas. We should get a few folks in here tonight. All right, my chat is here. Camera's there. If you see me looking away, that's what's going on. All right, we've got Dennis. How you doing, mate? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining in. Been a long-term supporter of the channel. I appreciate it. As has Jamal. Welcome back, man. Hope you're doing well. Another fellow Texan in the house. That was a great reaction video. Hey, thanks, mate. I thought I'd mix it up. I've been wanting to sort of diversify the channel a little more. I was getting bored, and I'm actually really enjoying myself again. It's been great. I think I just did too much of the same stuff for too long without really taking chances. And I just thought, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to have some fun. And yeah, it was fun to break down what he was doing. And part of the reason I wanted to do it was I know Steven Seagal these days is, he's a funny sort of character in many ways. He's also, I think, from what I've seen in the comments, said some stuff that's annoyed a lot of people, which I have no idea about. But I know a lot of non-musicians will look at him play and then assume he's faking, because there were comments like that in the chat. I'm like, dude, I literally broke down what he was playing, and it was all about just seeing whether or not he was actually any better, because the original time I saw him play, he couldn't play, or he just wasn't anywhere near as good as he is now. Not to say he's excellent, but he's definitely got he's about at the standard I see at a lot of the blues jams I go to. So it was fun, and I got some inspiration for future follow-up videos, not of Steven Seagal ones, but just other people. So we might do more of that. And again, it's not to belittle anyone's playing. It's literally to sort of find out what's going on and kind of break down some of what's happening musically. It's a good challenge for me too. It makes me use my ear more, makes me kind of work out the concepts and the way people think about stuff. And it's a good way of learning. So that's kind of where we're at with that. All right, we got Sig Siggers. That's a cool name, man. Hope you're doing well. All right. Hey Shane, do you think a Mahogany body, Strat or Tele would? How do I think it would sound? Look, anytime you're thinking about buying a Mahogany body, the trade-off, generally speaking, unless it's sort of like routed, is that they're quite heavy. So there's not going to be a huge difference tonality-wise anymore. That's been completely debunked. So whether it's a swamp ash body, mahogany, steel, polyurethane, it doesn't really make much difference. It all comes down to if the guitar sounds good with the pickups and hardware, it should sound great no matter what the body type is. I absolutely believe that. And it's been basically completely debunked. So you're buying it based on visual, you're buying it based on weight, you're buying it based on how it feels, all that kind of stuff when it comes to the wood body. So don't get too turned off from one wood over the other. It doesn't make a huge difference. A lot of the people who like mahogany bodies really like that sort of high gloss Gibson furniture polish kind of look. So if you're into that, I mean, go for it. Yeah, just generally speaking, a mahogany body will weigh more than swamp ash or an ash body, for example. And yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to now. I wouldn't worry too much about the tone. You know, the tone wood debate goes way back to Will's Easy Guitars. I remember him talking about that, and that was he copped so much crap for talking about tone wood, and he was right. All these years later, he was right. He knew his stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's how that goes. All right, we got Rusty from Texas. It's like a Texas fest in here tonight. You have to get a Texas flag up here. Welcome, everybody. All right, I got to get my act together and get over to Texas at some point coming up. We got Jim. How are you, mate? He says, hello to my favorite Australian dude. Ever try out the Benson amps? It was used by Elvis during his live setup. No. You know what? I don't know anything about them. That's interesting. I'll need to look into that. There's so many amps from probably that era. Well, not so many amps. There'd be at least a number of amps from that era that I've never heard of. And that's one of them. I didn't really ever look into a lot of the gear that was on stage in that sort of time period. It was sort of, for me, I grew up in the 80s, but I looked to about the 70s onwards. So yeah, I'm not really too sure, but yeah, it'd be interesting to know a little bit more about that. All right, Jamal's screaming at John. Hey, we got Craig here. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. If anyone has any questions, let us know. As always, I'll timestamp the live chat after the fact, so you can watch it back if you don't want to hang around or whatever. It makes it easier. We'll timestamp all the questions. All right, we've got Lincoln. I'll just do a quick shout out rundown here. Fast Eddie, very cool. Is that supposed to be in relation to the pool player from The Hustler? VOX Guitars Rock. Good evening, good afternoon, your time. Yeah, it's afternoon. It's just after lunch here, and I still haven't had lunch, but anyway, that's the way I'm going today. I had a late breakfast. All right. Welcome, everybody. Hey, we've got Amanda Coombs here. How you doing? She's bringing the 1% female demographic to the channel. Awesome. Thanks for joining in. Be summer there, right? So you'd be enjoying yourself in, you'd actually be getting some nice weather. Whereas it's winter here, and nothing like your winter. It's good. Hey, we've got Jose here. Welcome, mate. Thank you again for all the support over the years. You're the best, man. Thank you. All right, any topics for discussion today? I found a Fender Japan 50 Strat for a Fender Japan 50 Strat for a Squier Classic Vibe price at the Cash Converters last week, but I already have too many Strats. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I always, you know what I'm going to say, right? Just make sure you check the frets. The frets on the made in Japan stuff tend to be pretty small, and if you like that, go for it. But I'm pretty heavy-handed, but for that price, it's pretty good. My only concern is, yeah, what's the fret condition like? Otherwise, sounds like a good deal. I'm sure that'll get snapped up. The made in Japan stuff, like any guitar made in Japan, is generally pretty high, so in terms of quality. No, I don't really go with any topics for the live stream. I just sort of do it, and then we see how it goes. So we take questions. I leave it up to the audience and discussion points, all that kind of thing. I was toying with the idea of putting some, not necessarily guitar lesson videos together, but just some concepts I've been thinking about. Like, now that I've been playing live a little bit more, I've been thinking a bit more about different approaches to playing. Been working on my chops again, and things are starting to sound or feel good, at least anyway. Sounding good's definitely not my strength sometimes, but yeah, it's one of those things where I'm thinking maybe I'll throw in a few concept videos again. Not necessarily like lick lessons, but what to think about in different scenarios. So if you want to see something like that coming up, let us know, because I've already got some different stuff planned ahead of time. I'm back ahead of my queue, which has been great. So just let us know. All right, we've got T-Tone. Welcome, mate. G'day, Shane. Finally catching live. Everyone, don't forget to hit the like button. Hey, thanks for that, mate. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining in. Good to have you as a part of the stream. All right, everyone's here. Yeah, there's so many videos pulling him apart and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to look at what he did in terms of musicality, because I'm sure there's there's a huge community of people that make Steven Seagal style videos, and they tend to just take off in the weird algorithm of YouTube. And I've noticed that this video is already performing pretty well. Unexpected, completely. I've never done a video like it on this channel, and I thought, why not? But yeah, there's a lot of people I think that like to watch Steven Seagal related content, good, bad, indifferent, funny, educational, non-educational, whatever. It's just, I just thought I'd give it a go. And he was the first guy I thought of, because I was like, odds are I can probably, or at least hopefully, play to his standard or better, and breaking it down is easy. If someone said, hey, break down this Robin Ford thing, I'd be like, not a chance. I have to get my friend Brian in for that. So yeah, it's cool. It was cool. It's good fun. It kind of got me in the how do I pick this apart mode and explain it. I don't often do that kind of stuff. All right, your Tubescreamer video was spot on. Thanks, Shane. Hey, thanks, mate. I've also got a big comparison with the 3 different models coming up as well. I shot that yesterday with my Peavey, and the tones were cool. So we're doing some old school videos, some old school shootout videos, and yeah, I'm just going to try and mix things up moving forward just to have some more fun. The more I think about putting huge amounts of time into like Guitar Search Saturday videos, they always take me so long. And sometimes they do well, and other times they don't, and that's the luck of the draw. It's like, I don't know if I want to invest, like that amount of time into doing it the same way anymore moving forward with that particular series. So I've got a few new ideas for what would actually make it better in many ways, but also less production sort of stuff. It's sort of, that's the nerd in me coming out. I love the video editing side. I love putting together something that's high standard, but up to my quality anyway. And yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be doing that series the same way after this next one, so we'll see how we go. G'day, Shane. GRB Aquatics, welcome, mate. Hope you're doing well. Ever thought of building my own guitar? Yeah, I've thought about it. I've thought about getting parts and all that kind of stuff. I sort of wonder whether or not, sorry about that, I just knocked the microphone. I just saw it spike. I sort of wonder whether or not just building something from parts, like I don't have a tool shed here, right? So I can't actually like route everything myself. I'm not going to invest in that. But whether or not just buying a body, a neck, and all that and putting it all together, yeah, potentially. I just don't have anywhere I can really spray the guitars if I want to do the finish. So I'm buying basically a finished body and just slapping a neck on it, adding some pickups and all that. And that could be fun. I don't know if people are interested in that or not anymore, but maybe I could build a guitar that kind of maybe a good point of difference, or maybe try to build something like I've seen one of my guitar heroes play. Maybe that might be fun. Anyway, we'll see what we can do. Hey, we got Rodrigo here. Welcome, mate. He says, greetings from Mexico. Very cool. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining in. Tone Wood. Scott Grove. Ah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I forgot about that dude, man. He's still going too. He's got I think he does lessons still, right? I think he does lessons. I could be wrong, but yeah, he seemed like a nice dude, that guy. I don't know. His channel was. He's another guy that was pretty divisive because he could get great tones out of anything because he could play great, and I think that infuriated people who are like tube amp snobs and all that kind of stuff. This is going back like 10, 11 years. I don't really remember, but yeah, it's crazy stuff. All right, let me just scroll down here. I think we've got a super chat. Hey, thank you, Deshaun. I appreciate that. How do I... Here we go. Thanks, mate. Thanks for the support. He says, what's the music scene like down here? So Melbourne, where I live in Melbourne, Australia, used to be a bit like, not to the same extent, but it was like the Austin, Texas of Australia. It really had a great music scene. There's venues everywhere. There's still a lot of live music even now, but after the whole COVID thing, I think people aren't as interested in live music like they were. I mean, the musicians are, but it's always been hard to get any sort of decent payment for gigs. Even high-level players are playing for nothing. and most of the people have played. Once you play at all 7 venues that accept blues or whatever, then you're pretty much done. Then you got to start doing stuff in country Victoria, which is the state I'm in. So then you have to sort of get out of the city a little bit more if you want to just stick to your own style of music. But if you're talking about like cover bands and all that, you could be working plenty and making a pretty decent living. But, you know, whether or not you're into that as a musician, that comes down to the person. But cover band music's definitely the way to go if you want to try and make an income or weddings. But the venue scene is still pretty strong in Melbourne. There's blues jams, there's gigs, there's all kinds of stuff. Acoustic venues, you know, a lot of pubs and bars will put on acoustic acts over dinner time. It's probably not as prominent as it was prior to 2020, though, unfortunately. Even the venues I used to, and the scene's kind of changed a little bit too. It feels more like, at least where I live with blues, there's more jams than there are gigs because everyone gets a go and people are more interested in that these days. So anyway, Melbourne is still probably the home of music in Australia, but it's definitely not as strong of a scene as it was, at least in my opinion. And thanks for the support, mate. I appreciate it. Derek says, Boss Katana head beats the Marshall DS L40 for live performances. Why do you ask? Oh, I don't. I would never take a Katana over my Marshall for a live gig. Not a chance. But that's just me. It all comes down to what you like, right? So what I like and what someone else likes and what they want to spend on a piece of gear is completely subjective stuff. So yeah, I'm not going to tell you my Marshall's way better, but it is. All right. Please include the Keeley Noble Screamer in the Screamer review. I'll see if I can get my hands on a few Tubescreamers. I haven't been down to Sky Music for probably like a month now when it comes to like borrowing stuff. So I've got six or so Tubescreamers here from different brands and all. No, actually there'd be about 8. There's about 8 all up. So maybe we can do a comparison. I'll see what they've got down there. I don't have any connections with Nobles, or Keeley, sorry, I should say. I used to review their stuff, but they haven't worked with me for years. So, yeah, it is what it is. I'll see if Sky Music actually have any and whether or not I can borrow some. But the shootout I've already done is already scheduled. So I'll do another one coming up. All right, we got Giambani, is that how we say it? Giambani. He says, hi Shane from Florida. Welcome, mate. Florida would be stinking hot this time of year, and I'm stuck here. All right. Love my Gretsch. I have 3 Electromatics. Where, yeah, Gretsch are great guitars. You know, one of the things I've always thought about is, should I get one of their solid body ones, you know, the single cutaway ones? The 335 style electrics are pretty sweet too, but yeah, I think I probably prefer the smaller body form factor. That one I played at Southside Guitars in Brisbane on a Guitar Search Saturday. I probably should have bought that. That was great. It played great, it sounded awesome, and it felt great to play. It was made in Indonesia, I'm pretty sure, and that was such a great guitar. They got their own thing going on sound-wise too. They're very different. I could definitely get into a Gretsch at some point. It's one of those sort of underrated. I still think they're sort of underrated. While they've got the classic sort of White Falcon and all that, you know, I think most players would prefer their other options or alternatives. Todd says, hey, welcome, mate. He says he built a PRS copy from scratch over 20 years ago. A guy called Melvin Hissock wrote an instructional book, and I had a crack, got it working, but lots of work. Yeah, very cool. Well done on doing that. Yeah, I assume, unless was it a bolt-on neck? I mean, a bolt-on neck would make some of that easier, and if it isn't, then you're in for probably a lot more work. I just don't have the tools and probably also the time to put into building something from scratch. I just would rather have it done properly. But if building a parts caster or whatever you want to call it, I could definitely do. It might be fun. I'll have a think about that. But yeah, a PRS copy would definitely sounds like a lot more work. Hey Shane, what do you record the band with when you play live? Are you talking about camera equipment? So usually I have a tech channel as well, and I'm a huge camera nerd, so I've got all kinds of cameras. So this one is it's a Panasonic S5 Mark II. Usually if I'm at the jam, I take a little Sony FX30. It's like a little APS-C camera. If you're talking about audio, a lot of the time you hear the audio, it's just the camera microphones, and I turn the preamps down. And a lot of the new cameras have really great preamps. It allows you to turn them down to a point where they're not going to clip or do anything, and it sounds pretty unprocessed. It's quite good. Occasionally I use a Zoom H1 recorder, which I've got somewhere right here. It's always in a drawer. Well, maybe not right now. It's a mess in here, but yeah, one of those H1s. It's like a little XY polar pattern stereo microphone portable recorder with an SD card. I've had that for years. Occasionally I'll use that if I want the audio to be better, but that's it. Just keep it as simple as you can. If you see my vertical videos online, a lot of that's just from the phone. Someone filmed it on the phone. Sometimes with my friend group, I'll film them, they'll film me, and we'll just share some videos. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. But yeah, when it comes to recording audio properly, then I'm using a multi-track unit. It's a Zoom, I think it's called an R16 or something like that. And welcome, man. I haven't seen you for ages. Welcome. All right. What guitar amp do you recommend out of these few? JC40, Roland, Blues Cube, Fender Tone Master, Princeton, Fender Tone Master Deluxe. Peavey Bandit 112, Red Stripe. It'll be better than all of them. Actually, the Roland stuff is pretty good, man. Like the JC40's solid amp for live performance, but I prefer actually a 12-inch speaker personally. The thing with the Tone Master amps is they sound great on their own, but whether or not they handle, or if you're playing with external effects like a clon, they're not going to sound as good as some of the straight up solid state amplifiers, which is why I'd probably say a Roland Blues Cube would be better if you're using pedals. But if you just want that classic Fender sound, man, the Tone Master Princeton's a whole lot of fun, but it's not that loud. I would just buy the Fender Deluxe if you're in that sort of situation. The Deluxe is louder and it's light. There's really no compromise there in terms of tone. So I would say get the Deluxe, because if you need to turn it down, you can switch the power on the back down. But if you're a pedal player, get a solid state amplifier, get a Blues Cube or a Peavey Bandit. It's going to be in a whole different league. So yeah, that's my experience with them. It's not to say the Fender Tone Masters don't take pedals well, because they take pedals fine. It's just certain pedals, like a clean boost, a clon boost, or anything with that, it's supposed to push an amp over the edge. You won't get that exact same. You'll get a very different experience playing with a Tone Master. Although the Peavey Bandits are heavier, they're awesome. Like I bought a Peavey Silver Stripe Bandit off a guy online, I should say, for $100. I did my reviews. I sold it to my friend Brian, who used it the other night. We did a live show, and it sounded unbelievable. So he bought it off me for $100, and he's still using it to this day. The Peavey Bandits, they've got so much oomph. They're really good. They're completely underrated. So it also comes down to what you like the sound of the best, mate. It really does. There's that factor. But if you're a pedal player, get a solid state amp. If you're not, the other ones will do the job. All right. Hey, Shane, any thoughts on trying out a few different speakers in the Peavey you have acquired? I've changed my Classic 30 from a private jack Eminence, and it's been the best speaker swap I've had. Awesome stuff. The speaker swaps make a massive difference to your tone. No questions about it. And you can find speakers that drastically change the high end, the low end, the mid frequency, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of amplifier companies put inefficient speakers in their amps. So you can crank it up and you're like, why don't I have enough volume? And then you put a good speaker in there and all of a sudden there's your sound. A great example of this is the Peavey Studio Pro 112. That speaker's okay, but if you replace it with something that's got a lot of high headroom, like an Eminence, anything, Texas Heat, Governor, whatever, all of a sudden you've got way more volume. And just a much bigger and louder sound. So yeah, that sounds like a great swap, man. The Eminence speakers are my favorite personally. All right, let me just scroll down here. Whatever happened to Dr. Rick and Ryan? Haven't seen anything with them in ages. Rick's been on the channel. Ryan won't be on the channel ever again, but I've got Rick. I've had him on the channel plenty. He's been overseas. He also broke his ankle, and we did some videos then. And then I was away, and then he went overseas, and then we haven't crossed paths enough. But he's going to be on the channel more coming up. We've actually just spoken about that recently, so hang in there. It's stinking hot. Yeah. What's the best way to learn the fretboard? Yeah, that's a good question. There's a few ways. I would just say pick a key and learn. See, a lot of people learn the notes, right? I almost feel like, and that's an essential, obviously, but break it down onto learning the notes on strings and then finding where those notes repeat on other strings. So if you're playing a G on the low E string, so the fat string, find the closest G by using your ring finger in proximity. It helps you learn where those patterns fall. That's a really easy way of doing it. Otherwise, if you're just talking about scales are good to know where the notes are, but the more I've played, the more I realize, like, I don't just play minor pentatonic stuff, although I play blues and a lot of it is minor pentatonic. There's a lot of passing notes that work. There's a lot of these things that aren't in the scale that sound great, or they're in another scale, which might relate to a whole different thing. But when it comes to at least playing blues, like minor and major stuff kind of gets combined really well over dominant blues. So I would just say, learn your basic pentatonics, but then once you know where the notes basically sit, start playing some licks and just try to connect the dots along the fretboard. But just start with one string. If you're talking specifically about just learning what note is what, that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, what I've tried to do, and something I've been doing a lot more, is playing a lick in one spot and trying to find how to play it somewhere else. And not just in the octave, like playing it in a completely different string or area on the guitar. And that can open up a lot of like options when you're playing. You go, okay, I know how to play this here, play it there. It means this part here is the same as here. You know, that's a sort of practical way of learning. But yeah, there's no easy answer for that, mate. You just got to put your head down and you know, give it a shot and find what works for your particular learning style. I definitely bolted it on, made from Vic Ash, and oh yeah, wow, very cool. Yeah, the bolt-on thing would be the way to go. All right, Dave L, welcome, mate. Feels like it's been forever since I caught a live stream. Yeah, I didn't do them for like 6 months, so only in the last, I think, 3 weeks I've started doing them again. It was always, you know, after I moved, it was a pain. It was a pain to set up. Now it's easy. So I've made this as easy as I can. And this will, yeah, I'm hoping to do one at least every 10 days or thereabouts. And thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. Have you got a review on the Tele? I haven't. No, I haven't got that one, John. I need to probably do some more acoustic stuff, but I kind of, where I live, it's pretty loud. You can probably, I don't know if you've heard cars going by today or not, but recording acoustic guitar here is almost impossible. So it's something that I don't do much of currently, but maybe down the track I'll do a little bit more. All right. Hi, Shane. In part of your review, bought a JTM Studio. It rocks. Awesome stuff, Eddie. Man, those things are so cool. The, you know, for Strat, you know, they sound great with humbuckers, but if you're a Strat player, just crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Well done, mate. Awesome. Roland would be better than any new production Fender or Peavey. Yeah, look, you can find used gear way cheaper than all of this stuff. Like if you're looking to get a similar amp get a Peavey Bandit red stripe or even a silver stripe one, it'd give you a very similar end result. I tend to like the red stripe ones the best. I feel like they've got more of the sort of sound that I like inherently on most of the channels, but they're all pretty good. I think there was some maybe quality control issue, maybe not quality controls, maybe longevity issues with the latest generation of those amps. But so just stay away from the new black grill ones with the silver on the side. I know a few friends of mine who have had them, and a few of them have died. So yeah. Fast Eddie says, do I have Vegemite in my kitchen right now? I don't. I go through this sort of like phase with Vegemite. I really enjoy it for a while, and then I'm over it. It's I get sick of it. So I'm using an alternative which isn't quite as strong tasting. It's pretty cool. Hey, we got Buzz. Welcome, mate. Hope you're doing well. I always laugh when I see your snowy face there, mate. Thanks for joining in. Awesome to have you back. It's been a while since I don't know if you're on I don't think you're on the last one, but yeah, time on the last few would have been really bad for anyone overseas. So we'll keep mixing it up. I'll try different times of the day here over the next few live streams. All right. Sonny says, just got my Epiphone 60s Les Paul and Yamaha LL6 acoustic. So in love with both of them. They sound amazing to play. Awesome. Well done, mate. I remember you on the last live stream mentioning you were going to get one. That's super cool. Yeah, they're great guitars, man. Well done. Glad you're enjoying it. I think I reviewed the 60s Epiphone. When was it? Might have been at my old house. I'd have to double check, but yeah, great guitars. Seen heaps of Red Stripe Bandits, Rages, and Studio Pros for sale lately. You know, I gave my last one away as a thank you to a friend. We'll have to maybe make room for another one at some point. I'd love to get another Red Stripe Bandit. I should have just kept it in the garage, but yeah. Anyway, that's how it goes. There's always another one out there, which is the good news. They're like $200, $250, maybe $300. They've kind of gone up in price, I guess, over the last few years, but they're great amps, man. For me, sight reading in all positions is how I learned the fingerboard way back in music school. Very cool. See, I didn't do any of that. I just started with basically an instructional video on blues because that's what I wanted to play. And I learned some chords and I learned some stuff before that. But yeah, my fretboard knowledge isn't anywhere near it. I'm assuming it's probably less than 50% as good as I think it is. You know, every time you think you know the fretboard, there's a dude you watch play and you're like, what? Yeah. So I know how to make it work for me, but there's sections of the guitar I kind of actively avoid, which is partly to do with I haven't spent the time to make that section of the guitar work musically. It's not that I don't know the notes. It's like connecting them feels foreign if you're used to sticking to certain patterns or places. Those are the things that people have to work on generally, and I'm completely guilty of that. But yeah, it's great, man. That's super cool. Hey, room full of gear. Hello from Singapore. What's your take on TS style pedal going after another overdrive pedal for volume and gain boost for solos? Yeah, you can use it like that. I tend to use Tubescreamers. Like, it depends. Like, you can absolutely use them as a volume boost, but I find pedals like Klon's inherently better after other pedals as well if you just want to get more volume. If you're using it before, Tubescreamers are great because you can kind of like max out the tone control and the output of the pedals are pretty hot, so you can really slam something else with them. But I wouldn't use them second on it. I wouldn't use them to like as an after pedal. I would use them like before everything else, just for how I play. But there's no rules with this stuff. If you've got a sound that you like, but you want more like a mid bump, and if you're talking about the traditional Tubescreamer, and you got it after, you can turn the gain down and just make everything sound louder, but it's still going to inherently change your tone slightly. You know, the recent Tubescreamer video I posted last night is a full range one, so it has the low end and the high end there, no mid bump. Something like that might give you a better sound after the fact because it's not necessarily re-EQing your sound as much, but yeah, I don't think there's any rules for this stuff. Just give it a shot and see how you go. I think, you know, everyone likes different sounds and different combinations. I would tend to think something with more of a clon voicing, and this is through experience because this is what I did. If you put a clon after another overdrive, you get all of that tone, but it's just way louder, and that will do a huge... It will just give you a huge volume boost. And one of my friends does that, and every time he clicks his clon on, it's like, whoa, it's loud. So, yeah, you can definitely make it work, but yeah, for me, a traditional Tubescreamer would be before everything. But I know a lot of guys that will use a dirty amp with a Tubescreamer as the boost, so that they make that work as well. But you're just going to have to probably push the tone control up more than you might if you were using it on its own. Peter says, welcome, mate. First time on the live, it's 4 a.m. here in the UK. Did you ever get a Peavey Transformer, Peavey's first modeling amp from the early 2000s? No, I don't know that one, actually. I'm not sure I've seen it. They had another one, like the Viper or something. I used to see those around, but I'm not sure of the Transformer. I'll have to have a look around and see what we can find. Thanks for the heads up on that, mate. I don't know that one. Let us know if you had one and if it was any good. And you're up early or you're about to go to sleep late, one or the other. All right. For blues, would you choose a Fender Pro IV Jr. or a VOX Valvetronix? Pro 4. They're those little amps, right? Let me just have a look here. I just want to make sure I'm not giving you bad info. It's easy to do. So many different Fender Pro 4. Yeah, we're talking about those. You know what? Those little amps are pretty good, man. The Valvetronix will definitely give you more options. You'll get reverb, you get all that stuff. But I did a live session at a store with my friend Brian, and I were using Fender Pro Juniors. And they were surprisingly good. They kept up with drums. They don't have the biggest sound because they've got a tiny cabinet. But I almost think you'd be better off with the Blues Junior. You get reverb, you get a gain control. Blues Juniors can be a bit hit and miss for some people, but if you can spend the difference, like they're, at least in Australia, they're only a couple of $100 different. I know you're from overseas, but have a look at the difference. The Blues Junior would be a better bet overall. 12-inch speaker, reverb, gain control, fat boost switch. It's going to give you a better sound. If you like to use pedals, you can sort of push the front end a bit more as well and all that kind of stuff. You just get a bit more headroom. So I would say the Blues Junior would be the better choice if I had to guess. But yeah, it all comes down to your budget. I don't mind the Valvetronix stuff, but I don't love it personally. I'd rather keep it simple. And if you've got a few pedals already set up, then go for the Fender amp. But I need more info on the other model too, because I'm not exactly sure what one you're talking about. All right. Joe says, I started with the notes in each chord, example C, C, E, G. Then start on every 3 groups of strings, finding 3 notes chords. You'll have learned all the triads. Yeah, there you go. That's another cool thing to do as well. I don't spend enough time doing that either. It's funny, I see a lot of patterns on the fretboard when I'm playing, but I don't necessarily connect what it actually is in real time. I don't think in notes when I play. I'm sort of thinking in tones and sounds, and I know some people have a more sort of clinical approach to it. They know exactly, I'm hitting a G, this is a B. I never really think like that anymore. For me, it's like a sound connection thing almost, which is both good and bad. It's sort of limiting in some ways, but also freeing in others. So it's, yeah, the patterns of notes and all the different scales I've learned, I can kind of hear it as I'm playing it, but I'm not necessarily consciously thinking of the notes in at least not when I play live. I mean, I know what chords I'm playing and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's weird how your brain, how different people's brains work when it comes to that sort of stuff. I know another friend of mine who's a great teacher. He knows everything you're doing. Like, he goes, "Oh, you're playing diminished chords." I'm like, "I don't know any diminished chords." He goes, "You're playing one." I'm like, "Oh, is that a diminished chord?" Because I don't really know Why? I learned it from someone else, like a T-Bone Walker or whatever. I just love the sound of it, so I play it and it works. So I'm not really thinking in terms of like, why is this that? I just love the sound of it. So yeah, everybody's approach is different, but that's a great tip, man. That doing that, the triad's definitely a good thing. Hey, we got Kimball. Welcome, mate. He says, how am I doing? Good, thanks. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining in. All right, we've got Andrew K's Adventures is here as well. Welcome, mate. Awesome stuff. Seeing a lot of familiar faces here. We've got Zach as well. How are you, man? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. I think you're in Canada, right? From memory? Are you in Canada? All right. Here we go. Texas Blues Alley. I saw you were playing a lefty just before, mate. What's going on? I'm changing strings at 11 p.m. for some reason, but wanted to let you know I'm watching. Hey, thanks, mate. I appreciate it. I got to check out your... I liked your post before. Right as I was setting up, I had a quick look at you. You had a lefty flipped. Obviously, the Hendrix thing, right? Everyone loves to do a bit of that, but you were contemplating leaving the strings upside down. I thought that was a brave move, man. It's funny. I've seen some right-handed players get my lefties and just swing them upside down and play, and I was like, it's not too bad. It's what's his name, Eric Gales, guys like that, Albert King and all those dudes do that. It's crazy. Anyway, welcome, mate. It's been ages. I hope you're doing well. All right, let's go down here. I'll just have a quick drink. Ed's saying, what's my number one guitar right now? It'd be my Kiesel with humbuckers. I love that thing. I also have been playing this one a lot as well. This got the Johnny Highland pickups in there. These are just way better than the rest of my guitars. They sound good. They're light. They're awesome. It's something I didn't expect to ever say, but I think these are much better than my Fenders. It's crazy. And that single coil Strat is something I haven't played live a lot lately because the venue we play at, you can't really play single coils there. But at home, I've been using it. And last night, I did some practice, and it's such a pleasure to play. It makes me motivated to play. So I would say my Kiesels are my best guitars currently, which is hilarious because I've always been like into the traditional, Fender, Gibson sort of stuff. Now I'm not even really that interested in Gibson guitars like I was. I'd rather buy an Epiphone. All right. Have I tried the new Harley Benton HSS with the Babic bridge? Is that how you say that? No, I haven't. I haven't tried any recent Harley Benton guitars. I think the last one I did was the Tele with the gold top. I forgot what it's called. What's it called? The Fusion T in Fire Mist, I think was the finish. So no, it's been ages, mate. I have to look into that one. Oh, very cool. So Lost for Words says he picked up a Marshall Studio JTM and he's loving it. Very, very cool, mate. Someone else said that before too. That's fantastic. Great amps. Yeah, I blame that bloody guy on YouTube for talking up the Bandits and getting the prices jacked up. Some of my first public videos I ever posted were about the Peavey Bandit. Those videos are terrible, by the way, but yeah, I remember playing in San Francisco, and one of my friends had a backline of Peavey Bandits he picked up for like $65 each. I was like, what? And then they sound great. So yeah, that's what got the Peavey Bandit train rolling for me, and I've had 3 or 4 of those red stripe ones over the years. This is why I should just keep stuff sometimes. I buy them, I'm like, all right, I'm not using it, I'll get rid of it. That's the kind of guy I am a lot of the time, but I always come back to certain things, and those Peavey Bandits are definitely one of them. But yeah, I guess there's been a few videos that have probably raised the price of those amps up over time. Would I ever use the Boss Katana Gen 3 for a gig? Like the prior ones, you can use them live. The best way I've found to use them is to sort of dial in the clean channel with a bit of gain, max out the volumes, and then use your pedals. And you can use them like that. The clean channel is basically a solid state amp, so you can use it like that. But would I dial it in with a million different effects and bring a big foot switch with me that turns things on and off? No. The reason why is if I want to change something, it's near impossible. It's so much easier just having your pedal board on the ground. So you can gig with them, but yeah, they've got a pretty bright sound in a room. They're a different sort of spread of sound. These are things that matter to some people and other people couldn't care less with. I know another guy who plays with katanas and he sounds great. But there's definitely a difference with any sort of digital modeling amp in the mix compared to an actual amp, whether that's a Bandit or a any amp, a Fender, a Marshall, whatever. But you can do it. There's no questions about it. People do it. People love them. People don't love them. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. They're also, I think one of the things people overlook, including myself a lot of the time, just thinking about it, is they're less expensive than a tube amp. They're plenty loud, so if you get a 100-watt one, you can even run it at 50 watts. It'll be plenty loud, but they're also very light. And that appeals to a lot of people too. Not everyone wants to take a 60 kilogram or, whatever that is in pounds, 130 pound amp to a gig that's worth $2,000. Like, who wants to do that? You just want to take something light and easy. In most venues now, you can't crank up like you used to be able to anyway. So it probably will do the majority of gigs. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the songs, the playing, and all that kind of stuff. And if you can play, you'll make any of this stuff sound good. I'm not talking about you in particular, Jack, but just everybody. All right. Just one sec, guys. Just bear with me for 1 second. I think someone's at my door. All right, delivery. I should have played some intermission music there. I think this thing actually has sounds. Let's try this. What do we got? I can't hear this, but let's see if it works. Can anyone hear that? It should be applauding. Anyway, we might break that out if we need to. I can't hear it. My sound's on mute here. All right, let's scroll down here. And everybody, thanks again for the support with the channel. I said on a recent video, I've been doing this for 10 years full time, which is crazy. I didn't ever expect the YouTube thing to kind of last. So yeah, thanks for all the support. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to start doing more live streaming, because it's everyone who watches and everyone who supports the channel that makes it work, right? It's not just one person in a room. So I do appreciate it. All right. Wondering if you've seen the new Laney Lionheart 60-watt pedal, 60-watt amp, I guess that would be right. Would be good to see what you thought of it. Mark, I'll have to check it out, mate. I don't know about that at all. Laney, for me, a pretty hit and miss, but I know a lot of people talk favorably about the Lionheart stuff, so yeah, I'll need to look into that. Laney's a tough brand to find in Australia. I don't see it very often anywhere anymore. They kind of cheaped out for a while. I see used ones sometimes, the good sort of old used ones, but then it almost felt like they were getting made by just some Chinese manufacturer that didn't care for a while, and I think it brought down their quality. And this is with their smaller practice amps, because I did see small Laney amps, but I remember plugging into one once and the whole thing just started, it was awful. It was like distorting and rattling, and it was terrible. So hopefully that's all been addressed, and yeah, I'll check out their line. I'll check out this one you're talking about here, the 60-watt one. All right. Cage system is great. Yeah, that's another one that can definitely help for sure. I have problems with, like, I understand the theory in that, but there's certain shapes I just can't seem to get with the cage system. I'm not one of those guys that will tell you everything's easy. It's absolutely not. I struggle like everybody else. It's just if I play enough, I struggle less. If I'm rusty, one of my amp videos will, so amp or pedal review videos will take like 45 minutes from start to end. Not to finish the video, but just to film the parts. No, it can take longer than that sometimes. Let's say an hour. If I'm playing well, it will take 20 minutes. And then I do 5 hours of editing. But yeah. So sometimes you struggle more than others to work stuff out. I don't know much music theory, but I've always played by ear and it helps me to figure out songs for the last 50 years. Yeah, that's something I've done a lot of too. You know, like learning your lick library. Back in the day, a lot of it was just from albums, right? Like CDs for me. And that teaches you some stuff. Like when I broke down what Seagal was doing on that video. I mean, a lot of that stuff is pretty familiar because I'm a blues guy. But yeah, even when I wasn't able to sort of see what he was playing, I could hear what was going on. And I'm not a wizard with that whatsoever, but it really does help you. Like if you can hear something and get the gist of it, even if you don't know what key it's in, and you can work it out, it's really great for that, you know, hand-ear sound sort of hand-eye-ear coordination kind of thing. So yeah, Eric Gale's such a freak. Yeah, he's fantastic, man. He's so good. Plugged into the Peavey Bandit Red Stripe when I can. Well, what a different world. So good. But I cannot get it quiet enough. Yeah, you might just have to turn down that T-Dynamics thing, the dynamics control, and kind of run it low. Some of the later models with the Peavey stuff had a power attenuation switch on the back. You could either have it at like 100, 50% or like 20% or something. I can't remember. But yeah, the benefit of solid state amps is you can generally get a good sound out of them at a low volume, but yeah, to get the good drive sound, you still have to kind of crank them up. The clean will generally sound okay at low volumes, but the drive channel sounds better loud. It's just one of those things. They're a pretty special amp, man. I hope, I'd like to see Peavey kind of do, I know they never used to do reissues of stuff, but they need to start doing something good. Like that people go, wow, what a great idea. Because, you know, I don't know. Anyway. Hey, we've got Simon. Welcome, mate. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining in. It's a bit of an improv live Q&A hangout thing, so we're just talking guitars and music stuff and learning a bit of everything today. All right, let me just scroll down here. I'm right behind the chat by quite a bit. I'll just let me just scroll down. All right, Buzz says he has a Boogie Lone Star special that weighs slightly less than a ton, which I would never gig with, even if it blew the dumbbells away. Yeah, the Boogies are pretty heavy. My friend's he's got a few of them actually. He had a 50-watt Mark IV or something, a Mark V or whatever it was. Thing was brutal. But even his Studio 22, which I've showcased on the channel, I borrowed that off him. That is like, it's one of the best sounding 20-watt amps ever, but it's heavy for its size. It's not much bigger than a Blues Junior, and the thing screams, but it weighs a ton. Yeah, the Boogie amps definitely got a lot of weight behind them. Laney made in England line's the only one worth buying. Oh, there you go. So yeah, if that's the case, that's going to be great. Black Country series are amazing amps. Yeah, Laney have kind of gone off my radar. I've had a few people asking me about them lately, but you know, I don't see them often. And when I do, it's always like a VC 30 or 50. I don't really, and it's used. I don't see too many others in my travels anywhere. They're just not around. Oh, here we go. So T-Tone says he's got a Laney Lionheart IRT30 and love it. Awesome. Or is that an LRT? IRT? Yeah. Very cool. All right, I'll see what I can do. If I can check one out, I will. I know the shop, Sky Music, I borrow most of the stuff from. They don't have Laney. I don't know if they'll get them at some point, but if I find a used one somewhere and it makes sense and it sounds all right, I might do something at some point. But yeah, Laney's... I'd probably, for me, if I was to buy anything else, I'd probably get a VOX. maybe another AC15 or an AC10. That would be, I used to gig with an AC15 or an AC30 for many years, and sometimes that sounds fun. It's cool, but it'd be a great little amp to have in the studio, that AC10. But yeah, the Laney thing's it's got its own vibe going on. It's a bit like, what's that other brand? There's a brand that's, what are they called? They're kind of like Marshall, like an Orange amp, for example. They're kind of like a Marshall, but got their own thing going on. Sonny says, buying a guitar can be so complicated if you're not in the US or the UK. There's very limited options and prices are wildly different. The Taylor 114C costs around $900 US, and here in India, it's almost $1,500. Yeah, wow. Yeah, Australia's a bit like that too, man. Like, sometimes stuff here is at a reasonable price when you get your sales, but yeah, it felt like all of a sudden a lot of the guitars doubled in price. It's kind of how it felt at one point in time, and it wasn't necessarily like reflective of the exchange rate either, which was interesting. I did a video on this years ago. All of a sudden, the guitars went up in price way more than inflation or the exchange rate, and it was like, what accounted for that? I made a video about it. I'll see if I can find it. It was a podcast talk. I'll link it down in the description after this video. But yeah, it sucks. It totally sucks. I get it. It's Australia's kind of a bit hit and miss with stuff. Sometimes it's okay, and other times it's very expensive. But I hear places like Brazil are worse than Australia and probably India by a mile as well. Oh, where'd the chat go? Let me just move this. All right. Any experience with Port City amps? None. Let me have a quick look at this. I've changed my search engine to Bing, right? I was using Google for a long time, and now all you get is Reddit results. It's useless. So I'm getting exactly what I need to find with Bing. It's changed so much after not using it in, like, I don't know, however many years Bing's been in existence. It was like the default crap search engine many years ago, and now it's actually pretty good. A first result is what I want, and that's what Google doesn't do much anymore, unfortunately. These look really good. They look really good. I don't know where they're from or who makes them and all that kind of stuff, but they look like pretty high-end amps. I love the Tolex. I know no one can see this, so I won't talk about it for too much longer, but you go to portcityamps.com, and they look like they make some great stuff. There's a gallery there, and you can see what they kind of do. They look great. They look very 1950s or 60s inspired visually. They've got a really cool look. So thanks for that, mate. I'll look into them. I'll see what I can find out, and yeah, see if there's any hope I can check one out at some point. What time is it here? It is 1:28, which means we're getting close to the end of the live stream here. We're probably going to go for an hour so I can timestamp all of this, but thanks again, everybody, for hanging out. I appreciate it. Eddie says, I recommend the hand-wired VOX AC15, so many options. Yeah, they had those grey ones a while back, right? Is that the ones you're talking about? Unless there's a different model. I remember they had like larger cabinet versions of the VOX range that were hand-wired, but no reverb, right? I'm pretty sure they're just straight up like one-channel amps. But yeah, I always like the versatility of just the standard ones, like the VOX VOX AC15 C1 with the Celestion. I was always more partial to that sound over the one with the blue speaker in that Alnico blue. They're great amps, man. New Zealand guitar prices were terrible as well. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, I think New Zealand cop it even worse. I know their dollar's generally not even as strong as ours, so they probably get stung even more. There's all these different import costs that people... This is the thing, like if you run a business trying to import stuff, there's so many tax things in Australia. I would assume places like Brazil and other countries around the world have probably more of that as well. It just slows the process down. You got to pay more for the same thing, and then everybody's making an extra 10% 2 or 3 times, and it costs a fortune. Eston Ray says, Shane, you got some awesome builders, especially acoustic guitars in Australia. Maybe the best mandibles in the world. Very cool. Yeah, I agree. The acoustic guitars are by far the standout here in Australia. I think between like Maton, Cole Clark, and Fennec guitars, which I ran into a couple of months ago. The Fennec stuff is fantastic. I was really impressed with what I saw. They were arguably some of the most impressive guitars I've seen. Reuben guitars as well from Melbourne, Australia. Less well known than the other three that I just mentioned. But like, look up a Reuben guitar. R-U-B-E-N. I'll type it in. These were some of the best I saw anywhere. Like, these are, you know, right up there with... I'd say they're world class. Try and find another guitar that looks anywhere near as good as the Reuben guitars. They're not cheap or by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, the guy that builds them is one of the go-to guys globally for repairing old vintage guitars. That's how good he is. So yeah, I took my Tele down there to have it fixed, and yeah, just like a, what do they call it? Like a master builder kind of style stuff. So yeah, check that out. Next time we do this too, by the way, I said I was going to do it and I totally forgot. I'm going to learn how to share my desktop through this software that streams all the stuff now. And then we'll be able to, I'll at least be able to show you some things along the way. I can also share video clips and do all kinds of stuff with this software. I just haven't learned how to use it properly. I just bought it to do this basic stuff, share the comments, all that kind of stuff. All right, we've got 60 Cycles. Steve, welcome, mate. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining in. Awesome stuff. Yeah, Dave says Bing is actually pretty good. I never thought I would say that. Yeah, same. It's still a bit busy in terms of its results pages and stuff, but it actually works. Like, I can't believe I'm using Google Chrome now with Bing. I'm just sick of seeing Reddit results that go nowhere. Like, that's just ridiculous. These forum posts, man. It's like, I don't want that. Like, you have to keep typing negative Reddit, negative Quora. It's like, that sucks. Anyway, that's just a whole different conversation. Japan with the weak yen is a good place to buy used gear. I gotta say, when I was in Japan last month in June, I thought that place, minus certain services, was very affordable compared to anywhere here. Like, just the comparable prices of things you'd buy were much better value in Japan. So yeah, great stuff. That's super cool. And I mean, they got all the guitar shops too. I'm gonna have to do a trip at some point. Yeah, I was talking with Kafir about a year ago about going to Japan with him and checking out all the guitar shops and different areas and just going through the stores and seeing what we can find and all that kind of stuff. So we might do that at some point. I need to sort of talk to him about that, see if he's still keen. But yeah, man, I love Japan. I could spend a year in Japan. All right. I think unless I've missed any questions here, I'm just going to double check. I think we're good. So that wraps up about an hour, guys. Thank you again for hanging out in the live stream. Thanks for watching. I'll leave the ads off until the timestamps are done. So if you missed it, you want to go back and watch it, just go ahead. I'm not going to turn them on until I've done all the timestamps, and I'm only putting a couple in the middle. That's it. So I know I let YouTube do its thing on the last live stream, and there was like 35 ads on a 1 hour video. I'm like, no thanks. No one's going to watch that. I've got the premium account. I'm sure a lot of you guys have that as well, or you're using some sort of other alternative, which, yeah, it is what it is. So for folks who are just watching on the free version, no one wants 30 ads. That's no fun. So I'll make sure that's off. Anyway, guys, thank you for hanging out. If you can, leave a thumbs up. It really does help. If you watch any of my videos, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. That sort of stuff helps people know that the videos are good, or at least you enjoyed yourself, or anything, just anything. You can just say hi in the comment section. That'd be great. All right, guys, take care. Thank you again, and we'll do this again soon. I always endeavor to schedule these things up ahead of time, but this time we got 15 minutes notice. That's about as much as I can do, unfortunately, some days, but it is what it is. All right, guys, take care. Catch you soon. Thank you.